Hello and welcome to the hard sell, where the stick in the swill-bucket rattles back. I did have something completely different lined up for you today, but it turned out to be complicated and heavy, so you'll be seeing it at a later date, and for now you're stuck with this shit. Merely a...
Have a break.
Hey, no one gets what they deserve in this world. So now let me turn the clock back to, let's say, 1983. September 1983.
You're watching Grampian television.
The Korean airliner Reagan says tapes prove Russia's guilt. But was the command to shoot from Moscow? There are contradictions.
Not entirely unlike today, in that a hard-right Tory party that everyone hates still managed to win an election a few months ago with a giant majority, making them completely inescapable. But at least there's no plague. Unfortunately, there is a Cold War instead. Ronald Reagan is just itching to turn it hot. A couple of days ago, an obliging Soviet Union just shot down a regular airliner from South Korea out of sheer panic, which is a good illustration of how tense things were at this point. Fortunately, we got away with it without a nuclear war, though Christ knows how. So these adverts are from a world not much less bleak than the one we live in right now. Under the circumstances, maybe we needed more encouragement than usual to get up and spend our money. Let's see. Incidentally, we're also in the hairy-legged Grampian region here. You know, northern Scotland. In case you were wondering why I was wearing this. I'm also standing up for fairly obvious reasons. The programme being interrupted is the premiere of the special edition of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So I could have dressed as an alien. But I did not. When you watch as many adverts as I do, you notice certain patterns. Well, I do anyway, hence this programme. One such pattern is that adverts for engine oil were bloody everywhere in the 80s. Particularly this brand of engine oil, Castrol GT Liquid Engineering.
Castrol GTX Liquid Engineering.
I've seen so many adverts for this through the decades, all involving a trickle of liquid somehow doing something clever. These things would show up almost at random in commercial breaks during everything from Emmerdale Farm to the news at 10 to children's friggin' ITV. Regular viewers, hi Dad, will be aware that I know nothing about cars or the internal combustion engine whatsoever. I'm not even 100% sure what engine oil is or does, although my dad's already preparing to explain it to me right now. It lubricates the moving bits so they don't scrape against each other, I think. Like Vaseline but for cars. So anyway, I don't know if engine oil was a particularly important thing in the 80s, or up to the 80s, or if it's just not very important now. Because as ubiquitous as ads like these were in 1980s ad breaks, I've never seen engine oil advertised since 1993 or so. I mean, cars aren't electric, the petrochemical lobby still sorted that. They still have motor engines, and therefore surely they still need oiling. I suspect that the real reason you don't see many adverts for it is that there isn't really any competition between brands to speak of anymore. By the turn of the century, both Castrol and its main rival, Duckham's, were subsidiaries of BP. Profit-wise, it all went down the same hole.
Can you afford anything less?
Kate's dress looks nice, Mrs. Fry.
Thanks.
Oh no, the voices are back.
I always take great care with my washing.
Of course, but it could be better, you know.
Look at the fear on her face. She's tormented by this accusing voice in her head demanding absolute perfection as an archetypal housewife and mother. Unless it's an invisible government inspector. I'm not sure which version would be worse.
What?
It could be better. Your powder got it clean, but not really soft and fresh.
What powder can do all that?
Ma'am, why are you yelling at the wall? Heard faintly as a sad-eyed aunt closes the door.
Bold 3 Cap. We've taken a fabric conditioner for softness and fragrant freshness, plus Bold Automatic for its superb cleaning, and combined them in one revolutionary automatic powder.
The corkscrew test tube is completely unnecessary, but we think it adds a touch of jollity to proceedings. It's festive.
Bold 3 Automatic. Cleans, softens, and freshens.
My whole wash is really clean. Look at Kate's jeans. Even the knees. My towels are soft and fluffy and, so fresh.
All right, I believe you.
Now I know. Bold 3 Automatic does do it all.
Something is horribly wrong in this house. Even in an advert, no one gets this close to the edge of hysteria over whiter whites. I think she murdered her abusive husband with a leg of lamb or something, and then buried him in the patio, and is now projecting all her guilt onto this accusatory voice in her head, yelling about detergent. A special detergent that can make it all better again, make everything clean and white and soft. It's the only thing that possibly can, the only thing that can make it properly clean, the only thing that can remove the stain from her hands.
Now I know. Bold 3 Automatic does do it all.
In the name of God, will someone stage an intervention?
Cleans, softens and freshens all in one.
Walk right in, sit right down. Barrett open doors for you.
Barrett do all the paperwork and everything.
You're all right. It's Barrett's.
Barretts are probably Britain's biggest proponents of poorly built suburban sardine can shelters for aspirational proles and temporarily embarrassed bourgeoisie. There are Barrett developments all over the place. There's even one in my little town. They're best known, advertising-wise, for placing the awesome Patrick Allen in a helicopter where he could bellow in the voice of the Old Testament God about how great the houses were, and occasionally do some completely pointless property damage.
Right up to £50,000. And that's a breakthrough.
This one, however, seems to be a localised version, or somewhat localised at least, because all the talking head real-life customers are from Scotland, albeit mostly the STV region rather than Grampian, because that's where most of the actual towns are. To be fair, Dunfermline is near the cusp of the border.
Barrett do all the paperwork and everything.
Barrett's kitchens are tremendous. They include all the units and all the kitchen equipment. Everything we wanted, they did it for us.
Buy my own place at that price, and it's only cost me £5 a month more.
Walk right in, sit right down. Barrett open doors for you.
And of course, local it might be, but some things are immutable.
Find out how Barrett opened the door to your new home. Free phone Barrett now.
Although the Volkswagen Polo is one of the best small cars in the world, don't let that stop you giving it a really good look over before you buy one.
The voice here of Peter Jones, the original voice of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, who not unreasonably dined out on that fact in various adverts and things ever since, as a sort of ready-made ironic voice of authority. A voice that said, what I'm saying is fundamentally true, but still okay to laugh at. Here he is heaping praise on what to modernise is a shockingly box-like Volkswagen Polo. Oh, sorry, Volkswagen Polo. Because Jones was from the old school who pronounced it the German way. And then, of course, there's Jeff Capes.
Note, for example, the Polo is front-wheel drive with dual-circuit brakes.
Multiple shot-put gold medalist turned professional strongman, and just a couple of months away at time of recording from being crowned the world's strongest man. For the first of 2 times. So all in all, he could probably juggle this car if he wanted to, however he pronounced the W. And that, of course, is the idea behind his presence. They're going for the Volvo selling point. That this car is so tough, even Jeff Capes couldn't wreck it.
And there's independent wheel suspension. One side of the Polo rarely seen, the underside. We spray it with bitumen against rust. The exhaust is aluminized for longer life. Moving onto its roof, there's a rigid steel safety cell. Of course, Volkswagen's strength is almost as legendary as that of Mr. Capes here, only he doesn't have a 6-year body protection warranty against corrosion.
Well, he probably could. You could probably screw it up in one of his massive fists like paper if he wanted to. But he's being paid to just roll it about gently instead. You'd have an hell of a bloody job getting in the damn thing, let alone driving it away.
The Volkswagen Polo, or Coupe, or Classic. From £3,624, it's a tough choice.
When you first eat a Smith Square crisp, you're sure of a big surprise.
Square crisps? Hey, it's a gimmick. Not what you'd call actual proper crisps, in fact. They're not simply sliced from a potato and fried. They're moulded with corn pulp and potato starch. You may not think this matters, and you'd be right. But it does mean that legally they can't technically call them crisps on the packet anymore. But who cares, everyone still calls them square crisps. What else are they? It took a wee while for them to catch on. This is fairly early in their existence, and the selling point is still the fairly basic, a crisp that's square? That's crazy! Sort of stance. With a young post-his-was Lenworth as frontman.
The crispy, crunchy flavor isn't easy to explain. It sort of smacks you in the mouth, but it's a pleasure, not a pain. It's weird.
As you can see, the middle-aged white men in charge of advertising in 1983 still aren't quite sure what to do with a young, cool black man. So they give him a sort of vaguely surreal persona to reflect the fact that they simply don't understand a damn thing he says, does, or looks like. And they throw in a bit of that rappity talk mouth stuff that they seem to like nowadays. It's weird.
It's weird. It's weird.
Smith Square Crisps. Eating is believing.
The film, The Godfather. Brando played the part. Now the real-life Godfather, Joe Bonanno, tells his own explosive story exclusive to the Sunday Mail.
Quantel! Quantel Paintbox, everyone! We've got Quantel Paintbox! Spinning transitions, picture-in-picture, dancing text, overlaid bullet holes even. When this little baby became affordable, it was a positive boon to local businesses everywhere. Now they didn't need to hire a camera and some extras and shove their marketing manager on screen to blank eye a few barely remembered words. They could just use a voiceover, a rostrum camera, 3 photos and a load of text, without traditionally filming anything. Particularly good for local newspapers. Newspaper adverts were often the montage of items variety, and Quantel Paintbox was perfect for that form.
Deals, shootouts, extortion, and contracts to kill. The real Godfather reveals it all.
Joseph A. Bonanno had just been sent down for obstruction of justice. Why he's dishing dirt to the Sunday Mail, I don't know. I suspect that by talking exclusively to the Sunday Mail, they actually mean we're printing bits of his autobiography that's about to come out. No, it's not the Mail on Sunday, it's the Sunday Mail. Completely different newspaper. Where in England and Wales we have the Daily and Sunday Mirror, in Scotland they have the Daily Record and the Sunday Mail, published by the same company. Makes perfect sense to them.
And don't miss out on Scotland's biggest and best bingo series.
The Sunday Mail.
Oh yeah, and as it's the 80s and a newspaper, we're obligated to mention bingo as well. I think, keeping up the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy connection, this might be the voice of the late Stephen Moore.
Brain the size of a planet, and they've got me talking about bingo for Scotsmen.
Get up and get it.
Morrison Brothers, the new name for Peugeot Talbot in Aberdeen.
Okay, technically this one's from the next commercial break afterwards, but I wanted to include it here just to ask this question.
Right now, the Nippy Samba from only 3295 on the road, and the Super Peugeot 305 from only 4845 on the road.
Is that how Scottish people pronounce Peugeot?
Peugeot 305.
Is that a regular thing in Scotland?
Peugeot.
Or is this guy just struggling with the fancy Frenchy word? I mean, what's the deal here?
Morrison Brothers, your new Peugeot Talbot dealer at 46 Virginia Street, Aberdeen.
Anyway, that's 1983 in northern Scotland. Hope it chokes you. You can see faint traces of evidence that we're approaching Thatcher's imperial phase here, but on the whole there's relatively little in the way of aspiration. The detergent advert is just bumbling proletarian bold rather than one of the A-list names like Persil and Ariel. and it almost has a breakdown, insisting on its customers staying within their good housekeeping milieu. Not that the people they're pitching to know what the word milieu means. I'm not certain. Even the car advert is mainly concerned with the car's sturdiness and reliability rather than anything flashy. And it's fronted by a celebrity of decidedly working class appeal. Only the presence of Barrett's, the first step on the property ladder, hints at the burgeoning age of the Filofax. Not that I care about any of this at this point. In September 1983 I'm still about 2 feet long and struggling with object permanence. Happy days.
Northern Lights, Vold Aberdeen, mean home, sweet home to me. The Northern Lights, Vold Aberdeen, are where I long to be.
You've been watching a Bob the Fish production. Thanks! If you haven't found it already, be sure to check out our website at bobthefish.org.uk. Literally hundreds of videos not unlike this one that will make you laugh, think and realise new things or your money back. Which works out great because they're all absolutely free. All of this is possible thanks to the not unique way that Bob the Fish productions are paid for by you, the viewing public, via Patreon. For a donation of as little as £1 a month, not only do you ensure that I still have food and shelter so I can carry on making these programmes, but you could become eligible for a whole host of cool extras. New video essays, special event live streams, all my content a week in advance, and my book on the history of the BBC, Rule the Waves, chapter by chapter as it's written. And some cake, if you go out and buy a cake and eat it while you're watching. And if you don't want to support on a monthly basis, you can make a one-off donation via Coffee. It all helps stave off scurvy. bobthefish.org.uk. You make it what it is.